Hey folks, we're going to go ahead and do a card reading today. Use the full mystic method, all 7 directions. So we'll just do this as a general card reading, not for anybody specific. So if you're watching this live or watching this recorded and it feels like it's speaking to you, then awesome. That's great. And I hope it brings you some spiritual growth and some peace into your life. So, yeah, that's great. Okay, well, I'm just going to shuffle this up. As always, I recommend you spend some time with the cards and get yourself into the right mindset so you can be open to the promptings of the spirit. You can be open to inspiration and revelation, and just, get some good energy into these cards. So, all right. That's probably good enough. Okay. East, west, north, south, above, below, and within. Put the rest of those aside. Okay. All right. As always, we start with the east. Sunrise card. This also represents wind, the element of wind, and it represents the suit of clubs, which is intellect. So let's see what we've got. Okay. So interesting. Sevens. Sevens are a very spiritual number, as we know. Sevens also mean disruption. They mean a roadblock, right? The 6 being the normal open pathway, the special mission, and then there's all of a sudden this roadblock that gets thrown in the middle of the 6 right there. So the 7 of diamonds, you will be tested, which is literally what these 7s mean. That's literally what they mean. You will be tested. Means the normal open pathway for your special mission, there's something that's being thrown in the middle. And remember that the point of tests are always for our own growth, for our own elevation. So, right, this is a message that God's sending that says, hey, there's something I want for you to help you elevate to a new level. So this being a 7 of diamonds, diamonds represent our values, the value systems, the things that we hold dear to us. So we're probably going to be tested around something that is a strongly held belief. Now, notice here, believe in abundance, be grateful, fearlessness and freedom. So don't be afraid of 7s. 7s are always an opportunity for higher existence, for higher growth. And that's pretty important. So, okay. And it's in the east. So that means it's something that will probably be beginning in our life. And I think we could probably interpret it that way. It feels like this is a sunrise. Something will be coming, and it's probably going to be this test. So that's pretty cool. All right. Now let's look at the west. Okay, interesting. So this is an interesting one. The west often represents sunsets, right? So things that might be ending in our lives, but not always. You have to interpret the message that is coming through to the cards. And remember, each direction can represent multiple things. For example, if we had this club over here, clubs and clubs, that can represent an extra bit of energy for that. So it's not always beginning and endings. That's one thing that can happen in these locations. This can be a beginning and this can be an ending, but obviously having an ace in the sunset place in the west would probably cancel that out. So this is a new beginning. Aces are very powerful cards. Now, this is an interesting one because clubs represent intellect, they represent knowledge, wisdom, right? Endeavors of intellect, writing, studying, schoolwork, things like that, knowledge and wisdom. So the ace of clubs is a desire for knowledge. It's the beginning of a new way of thinking. Now, it being over here in the west place, which is also representative of hearts or relationships, this could mean that there is a new beginning coming your way. There, you have this desire for knowledge, this beginning of a new relationship, a new way of thinking in regards to relationships, beginning of a new, that's probably the best way I think to look at that, is beginning of a new way of thinking about relationships or in relationships. So something to do with a relationship, something to do with love, has this new beginning coming that has to do with a new way of thinking. I think that's an interesting point when you put these two together. Going to be tested on something, tried on something that you value, and a new way of thinking in the relationship place. That feels like there's a connection there to me. If you can feel that too, there's a connection, a new relationship, or at least a new way of thinking about relationships, about love. Obviously, clubs mean thinking, so put those together, and then there's a value that you might be challenging and that you might have to elevate on. So really interesting, a new way of thinking about relationships. Okay, so let's take a look at the North card, which we know is Mother Earth. This is the place that represents values. So this is where the suit of diamonds would show up here. And this is feminine energy. It's nurturing energy. It's receptive energy. Okay. Ooh, and we have Jack. So face cards. Jacks are very powerful cards. Enlightenment card. The Enlightenment card is the Jack of Clubs. Initiation into a higher knowledge. Interesting here that we have two clubs and two very powerful spiritual cards. Right, two very powerful spiritual clubs cards specifically. Initiation into a higher knowledge. This is the Enoch card. It represents that higher level of knowledge, a higher level of thinking, a higher level of wisdom. And here we have something to do with new relationships, a new way of thinking in relationships. This is really cool. Like, this to me has a really positive message coming with it, that there's a high level of elevation going on, of really lifting to a higher level of existence, specifically in ways of thinking. And thinking has a lot to do with our values, right? A lot to do with our values. Now, there may be some conflict in this. If we look at these, you may be thinking and elevating to a new way of thinking because you have this desire, and then there's this enlightenment card that's initiating you into a higher level of knowledge. And it may be in conflict with some of your values. It may be in conflict with something that you've held dear, hence the 7 over here. Being tested, being tried, something's being disrupted here. So you may need to really reassess your values, the things that you hold on to as value. Now remember, values can be a tricky one for a lot of people, because when we talk about our personal values, the things that we hold dear, it's easy to talk about the good things, the things that are societally acceptable, right? It's easy to say, well, I value love, I value kindness, I value charity, I value taking care of my fellow beings, my brothers and my sisters. I value, have family values, whatever it may be. It's easy to say those things, but you have to go deeper than your conscious mind with this. You have to go deeper. That's a big part of what these readings are for, is to help you sift through your consciousness and get to your subconscious mind. The things that you hold on to that you don't think about every single day. So when you say you value charity, do you really? Are you really a charitable person? Do you really do everything you can to go out of your way to help other people? Is that something you really value? We may say these things because we grow up this way. This is part of our growth as human beings. We grow up saying a lot of things that are societally acceptable until we can get to the point where we can challenge those on our own and say, maybe I don't value that as much as I thought I did. Maybe I actually value this. Maybe I grew up thinking I was an extrovert, but I'm actually an introvert. Or maybe the other way around. I grew up thinking I was an introvert, but I really actually need people. Maybe I'm an extrovert. Things like that. Okay, so this is meant to be challenging to you. So, okay, all right. Enlightenment here, the higher knowledge. I think being in the feminine energy place in North ties together with the relationships here, right? This is kind of the nurturing energy. I think that ties together with this new beginning, with a new way of thinking about relationships. That's interesting. Okay, all right, let's go to the South. Father Fire, this is spades. This is spirituality and lifestyle. Let's see, we've got, and a 6, a spade and a spade. Okay, very important. Spades showed up in the spades slot. South is representative of fire and spades. So anytime we see a suit that lands in the place where it is meant to be, the direction that it belongs to, we know that means there's extra energy for that. It's kind of like bolding the headline, right? This is pay attention to this message because it's in that spot. So far we don't have that anywhere else, but we just turned over a spade in the spade's place. And it's a 6 nonetheless, the fate card. Destiny, karma, right? Listen to your inner voice to find your mission. 6s are pathways. They're open doors, right? The pathway's nice and open and clear. All about your specific inner mission. So that, very interesting, very spiritual, right? Fate and destiny, meaning you have a part to play in this life. And there's extra energy here that's saying, hey, it's time to really think about that. What is your part to play? Definitely going to be a test with this. There always is. When we are on the path to finding our personal destiny, there's always tests. There's always roadblocks that get put in the way. Those are meant to really galvanize us. Are we really on the path? Do we really want this path? If a roadblock gets put in your way, are you going to continue the path? Are you going to try to figure out a way to get above or around or whatever, underneath, get over it, that roadblock? Or are you going to give up? Are you ready to take that path towards your destiny? Really listen to find your inner mission. And I think this inner mission is going to have something to do with this elevation into a higher knowledge, specifically about relationships. I think there's some definite messages here. So if this is you, if we're talking to you here, this might be your message. This might be your mission to elevate into a higher way of thinking about relationships, potentially. A new beginning, a new relationship. You have desire for something new, a new way of thinking, being initiated into a higher knowledge. Now, it doesn't have to necessarily be about relationships. It's just that there tends to be, or it looks like there's a bit of a correlation here, being over here in the love and the relationship space, and also with kind of the feminine energy, which is nurturing, which is receiving. So I'm feeling something with relationships, but not necessarily. It could just be a new initiation into a higher level of knowledge, and that your destiny has something to do with that. Elevate your thinking. Think at a higher level. Let go of, especially from values, right? You're going to be tested. Let go of grudges. Let go of gossip. Let go of things that don't serve you, right? The way we think about things, negativity and griping and complaining, let go of those kinds of things. Reach enlightenment. Let your light shine so that others can see. That's really what enlightenment is. You have become enlightened. You now glow. You now shine so others can see. So I feel like there's a very special mission that's being communicated with that initiation into a higher level of thinking. Okay, all right, so above, below, and within. Let's take a look at above, the Sun card. This is the gift from God. This is the message, the gift that God's just saying, hey, take a look at this. I'm sending it your way. And we have 5 of Spades. Okay, so another Spades card. Interesting that we have a 5, 6, and a 7, because 5s and 7s are both kind of change cards. They're disruption cards. 5 specifically are change cards. We have the 4, which represents stability, and then 5, where you throw that extra table leg in there, right? You have 4 table legs, and you throw one in the middle, and all of a sudden the table starts rocking. That's good. Stability is meant to go to instability. Instability is meant to go to stability. That's the cycle of life. Comfort becomes discomfort. Discomfort becomes comfort. So this is a change in lifestyle, a change in spirit. Spirituality, a desire for change. It could do with home, with your business, with travel, with life, with the way you think even, right? Now that would tie together with this. So here, I feel like God's saying, hey, there needs to be some changes, which would go hand in hand with this initiation into a higher knowledge and reaching your destiny. Needs to be some changes in your lifestyle, and you know it because this is a desire for change. This is your desire for change. Your spirit is telling you, there's something you need to be doing differently. That doesn't mean this isn't like a call to repentance, right? Now, in a way it is, because repentance just means change and adoption of something new, a new higher level of existing and thinking. So, but this isn't like, well, you need to exercise more because, you're overweight. Now, if you are overweight, okay, exercise more. That's great. Have a better diet. Don't diet, have a better diet. Notice what I said there. But this means there's something in your spirit that's saying you want to do something differently. There's a spiritual change that your spirit is looking for, and God's saying, yeah, it's time for that to happen. Okay, so the stars card, let's see what the clarity is, or if there's some guidelines or something that'll help us understand that a little bit better. Oh, and another spades. My goodness, there's a lot of spades in this. And a 9, I don't know. Boy, I haven't seen a reading like this in a long time, where we have a 5 and a 7 and a 9. Because 5s, change. 7, disruption, which means change. 9s are endings. It's the ultimate change. Because remember, anytime there's an ending, there's always a beginning. So 9s are endings, a time for a way of life to end. Are we seeing some themes here? Change, something needs to change, initiate into a higher level of thinking. You have a specific destiny that's coming your way, right? A new way of thinking. You really want to change the way you're thinking. You're being tested about things that you value. I see a lot of connections with this. Whereas a 9 is it's time for a way of life to end. Death of something old so that you can make way for something new and brilliant and beautiful. Boy, this is a powerful reading. I think this is really saying, hey, it is time to move. You know it's time to move. Let's look at this last card. Let's look at the within card, the moon card. This is what your spirit is saying about all of this. This is what your spirit is saying. And let's see what we got. We have an 8. Oh, that's a wonderful way to bring that to a close, because 8s are power cards. 8s are success cards. And specifically, the 8 of Hearts is emotional power. It's healing, right? Healing energy, success in love, in relationships. This means that your spirit is on board with all of this and says, this is going to lead you to the 8. There's a lot of emotional power, charm, magnetism, this healing energy for yourself, for your relationships, right? Whatever it is that you're going to be tested on, what you're looking for, this desire for change that you really have, trying to find your destiny, you're going to find it. And it's going to be full of love and full of healing and full of just goodness and magnetism and power. This is a beautiful, beautiful card to end that all off with. So, okay, interesting reading. Yeah, very interesting reading. So I definitely feel like there is some change that is needed. That's kind of the overall message I'm feeling here is change, spiritual change, looking for new ways of thinking, elevating yourself to a higher existence. The Enoch card, the Enlightenment card, right? That's a higher level of knowledge being tested, trying to find your destiny in all of this. Something needs to change, right? Change, initiation, change, new beginning, change. Very, very interesting. And at the end of it all, your spirit is saying, hey, this is going to work out. This is what you want. Your spirit is saying this is what you want. Emotional power, healing energy will come. So how do you know what the change is? You got to listen to your spirit. It's time to spend some time with just yourself, with your own thoughts, with your inner spirit. Find a place to do some quiet time and really think about it, ponder about it, do some meditation, whatever it looks like, prayer, to find out what it is that you need to change. What is it that your spirit is saying you need to change? What is it that God's saying you need to change? Chances are you probably know. You're probably already feeling that push, right? There's that desire for change here. You're probably already feeling that push inside of you that you need to make some changes. So I would recommend you hold on to that and really dig into that deep, look into it and say, what is it that I need to change? And then make the changes. It doesn't have to be a big change. You can start with something very small and simple things. Great things are about to pass. Start with something small and take that first step. Remember, like, if you want to exercise, the first step's not exercising. The first step is to set your alarm so that you'll get up in the morning at the time that you want to get up to exercise. And then the second step is to get out of bed. The rest of it will happen. So make those small changes and the big changes will come. Okay. Thanks for joining me.